Hey guys, welcome back to Scott Buys Houses. I'm Scott Mitchell, owner of Otter Buy Homes, and today I'm going to be showing you how to lose money in real estate. That's right, you heard me correctly. I'm going to be teaching you how to lose money in real estate. Now, I know you got to be wondering, why in the world would I want to lose money in real estate? Well, the honest answer is it happens sometimes. We've been in business for going on 10 years now, and we've been a party to close to 200 real estate transactions over those 10 years. And on a handful of them, we've either just broken even or even lost a little bit in the process. In fact, we're going to be closing on the resale of a property that we flipped last year, and we're actually going to be losing somewhere between 5 and 6 grand on the deal. So I want to walk you through it, show you the numbers and where we made our mistakes so that hopefully you can learn from our mistakes and not make the same mistakes on your next real estate deal. So follow along. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, folks, let's jump into it here. So the first thing I wanted to show you is just some basic details about the property that we're going to be talking about today. And if you've never seen this system before, this is a system called PropStream, which we've been using for, I want to say, going on 6 or 7 years now. It's a fantastic system. It's specifically built for real estate investors. Gives you the ability to analyze property, run leads, run comps, basically I'd say 90% of the work that we do is in PropStream here. And I want to say it's like $199 a year, and really the value that it adds to our business is at least tenfold. So in any case, let's jump into it. You'll see here we've got the property address, 129 Virginia Drive in Troy, Tennessee, which, if you're not familiar, is a rather rural town out in northwest Tennessee, which is one of the markets that we work in. It has the bedrooms and bathrooms layout there, 4 beds, 1 bath. That was what it was when we purchased it. We actually we built a second bathroom to create a true master suite in this property. 1,957 square feet, lot size 36,154, which is right around 3/4 of an acre, built in 1967. And you can see here that we paid $127,000 for it back in February of 25. So one other advantage that we have here with this property is because we bought it off the MLS, there are some pictures of what it used to look like. As you can see, it's, fairly traditional 1960s brick ranch, very common here in Tennessee. You go inside and it's not in terrible condition, but as you can see, it's quite dated. It was very dark inside, lots of wood paneling. The kitchen left a lot to be desired, to put it lightly. And as you can tell, it's very, very dark because of all the wood paneling in here. This was the entryway. When you walked in the front door, you walked down this little corridor, kind of scary, really. Lots of wood paneling. I want to say we spent right around $10,000 in sheetrock work alone. This bedroom here, we actually took down 2 walls to convert this into a living room, because we took the previous living room and we converted it into that master suite that I was telling you about earlier. But as you can see, it's pretty dark, dingy, dated. Here's your walk-in tub. The previous residents, the previous owners, were an elderly couple who passed away, so they had one of those walk-in tubs. Obviously, we did away with that. It had old dated wallpaper, horrible vanities and what have you. So that gives you an idea what it used to look like. Now let's take a look at what it looks like now. So as you can see, we painted the brick. Kind of freshened the look on the outside. We wrapped the pillars. We converted, this was the living room. We added recessed lighting. We walled it off, gave it a private entry there. And through that door there, let's see if we've got some pictures. No, we don't have pictures there. But through that door there is the master bath that we built. This used to be a bedroom. Remember I was telling you where we knocked down some walls? We converted that to a living room, which opens up to the kitchen. You see here, the kitchen is a little on the small side. We were a little bit, constrained as far as the space was concerned, but we did put in new cabinets, new butcher block countertops, new stainless steel appliances, recessed lighting, tile backsplash, We put an island in the middle of the kitchen there. We had some feedback initially saying that there wasn't enough countertop and cabinet space, so we put it on an island to kind of remedy that situation. So, and you're welcome to go through the listing pictures if you'd like. Again, it's 129 Virginia Drive in Troy, Tennessee, but I'll save you the boring details. But that gives you an idea of the work that we did to this property. Now let's get into the numbers, folks. So this is what it's all about. Let me zoom out here a little bit so you can see the numbers. And I'm going to hide some of these columns so that we can focus on one thing at a time. But this spreadsheet here, this is a pro forma, and a pro forma is merely a projection of a property's how it's going to work out. Okay, and we do pro formas at 3 different phases of the process. The first one that we do is when we first put a property under contract, and that is our projected retail pro forma, okay? And it starts here. You'll see we have projected the after rehab value on this property at $250,000 based on the comps that we were pulling at the time. We paid $127,000 for it. We borrowed $100,000 in a hard money loan, which if you're not familiar with hard money lenders, we'll do another video on that to kind of help educate you. But most real estate investors leverage hard money lenders in addition to their own capital in order to acquire and rehab properties. The next item on this list is the HELOC used. That's our home equity line of credit. Again, we leverage a line of credit in order to fund the acquisition and the rehab of our deals in addition to our hard money lenders. We had initially projected $41,000 in rehab for this property. We wound up spending a little bit more, which you'll see here in a second, but this was our initial projection as far as what we were going to spend on the rehab. We had projected $2,000 in closing costs, realtor commissions of $12,500, buyer concessions of around $7,500. We always just kind of budget around 3% of the sale price for buyer concessions to help them pay for their closing costs or discount points with their lender. Again, if you have any questions about this stuff, please let us know. We'll do additional videos on these as well. But closing costs on the sale, these are usually pretty small, usually $800-900 are our closing costs on the resale of a property. Now, holding costs, let me talk about this for a second. So your holding costs are things like your taxes, insurance, and utilities. We usually, depending on the property, we usually budget between $500 and $600 a month in holding costs, and we usually anticipate holding the property for around 6 months. This gives us 2 to 3 months to rehab the property and then an additional 3 to 4 months to sell the property. So a total of around 6 months at $500 a month in holding costs comes out to a projection of $3,000 in holding costs total. The next item you see here on the pro forma is $2,000 in points. Now, these are discount points that most hard money lenders will charge, and most hard money lenders will charge between 1% and 3% of the total loan value in points at closing. So this particular lender charged 2 points for a total of $2,000 at closing. The next 2 items that you see on this list here are the interest. This is the interest that we're expecting to pay for the duration of the project. So you'll see we had projected just under $4,900 in interest paid to that hard money lender and a little over $2,500 in interest on our HELOC, okay, for a grand total of, what does that come out to? Roughly $7,500, give or take, in interest to do the deal. And then we had a total of $1,070 in prepaid interest at the closing when we purchased, for a grand total, and again, this is just a projection, and we did these projections after we put it under contract before we wound up closing on it. But our total projected costs were just a shade under $205,000, which if we had sold the property for $250,000 would have net us $45,517, which for our world, the markets that we work in, the deals that we do, anything over 40 grand in profit is a pretty good deal. We consider that a win. So $40,000 to $50,000 is kind of normal. Now, let's go on to the next stage of our pro forma when we went to list. So we purchased this property in February of 2025, And I want to say we went to market right around May, if I remember correctly. And at that time, because we added a second bathroom, we created a true master suite, and we did some other minor updates to increase the value. We wound up listing it for $269,000. Okay. Now we really didn't expect to get 269.9, but we figured we'd get something in the 260s. Okay. You'll see here that our purchase price, our hard money loan, our HELOC largely remained unchanged. We did spend a little bit extra on the rehab. We had spent at that time, we were right around 50 grand on the rehab. Again, we added a bathroom. We did some additional sheetrock work. We changed the layout a bit to make it a little bit more functional. So we spent a little bit extra there. We also spent $5,000 in staging because we felt with the amount of work that we had done and our list price, we really wanted to showcase that. So we spent some money on staging materials, and we paid our listing agent to stage the property for us. And you'll see that the rest of these numbers here really remain largely unchanged. Obviously 5%. Realtor commissions and buyer concessions at 3% went up according to the list price. But the rest of these remain largely unchanged. So at the time of listing, we projected a total cost structure of just over $220,000. And if we had sold it for $269.9, we would have net out just a shade under 49 grand. Okay. Again, in our world, folks, that's a win. We would take that 10 times out of 10. However, things change. All right. So let's look at column D here. This is what we're actually ending up with here. All right. As I mentioned previously, we listed it right around mid-May of 2025. Today is May 18th of 2026, and we are just now putting this property under contract for a whopping $225,000. So you see that we had to do a number of price drops over the course of that year that we had it on the market. Obviously, we didn't get anywhere near our original projection. We did spend a little bit extra as far as the rehab was concerned. We've had a few miscellaneous items come up on inspection, a few additional repairs that we weren't anticipating, which cost us about $4 grand more than what we had spent at the time of our listing. So you see that number went up a little bit. But the other major increases here, folks, that I wanted to point out are the increases in our holding costs. Okay, because we had an additional 6 months of holding costs, and we had an additional 6 months of interest paid to that hard money lender and paid on our HELOC. Not only that, but because we've held the property for more than a year, we had to actually pay for an extension with our hard money lender, which cost us $1,495. So you see all these costs add up, right? And at the end of the day, when the dust has settled, we will have spent just a shade over $230,000 on this property. And again, we're selling it for $225,000, which means we're going to have a net loss of just over $5,000 on this property. So this is obviously not what you want to have happen. But I think there are some key takeaways here. The first is, don't underestimate your holding costs. Don't underestimate how long it's going to take you to sell a property, because as you can see, if it takes you 12 months to sell a property instead of 6 months, it's going to wind up doubling your holding costs in the process. The other thing is, be conservative right now. If you haven't been paying attention to the real estate market, it's not what it was in 2023 and 2024. We're in a totally different market now, folks. And your days on market are increasing. Your average retail value is decreasing. We're having to pay more in buyer concessions than we used to. And all of these factors are going against us as real estate investors. So lesson learned on this one. Hopefully you learn from our mistakes and you don't repeat some of these mistakes.
So there you have it, folks. That is how to lose money in real estate. Obviously, we put ourselves out there a little bit and kind of highlighted some of the mistakes that we made in this transaction. But really, we're all human. Even those of us who've been doing this for a very long time and have done close to 200 real estate transactions, we still make mistakes, and sometimes we even lose money. But we wanted to share it with you so that you can avoid those mistakes and hopefully make money on your next real estate transaction. Now, if you enjoyed this content, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel as we continue to put content out there like this. We hope to help you in your real estate investing endeavors. And as a bonus, if you'd like a copy of the pro forma spreadsheet that I walked you through today, all you have to do is comment pro forma in the comments below, and we'll send you a link to that spreadsheet. So thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you again soon.